Stay a while and listen.
Alright, so I'm going to have to edit out the silence. Welcome to the Agony of Positivity podcast, the AOP podcast for short. I am one of the hosts, Ross. With me, let's see if he can get his name correct this time.
Coltrane Saul.
No, we are currently up to Saul Train, Big Daddy, Holla, Freakzilla, I believe is what we're adding this week.
Yes.
As soon as I find Scott Steiner saying something that sounds even close to Saul, we are going to have a great intro for you. You'll get your own theme song.
Scott Steiner, his promos is kind of like Donald Trump when he gives his speeches. They're all over the place.
Or just it's a stream of consciousness.
Yes, you're like, well, you're trying to get something out there. I don't know what you're going for, but I like it.
Except it's much more acceptable in the pro wrestling world. Is the only problem there.
Sure.
So, how's your week been? Because this is your second week back in the real world of work. Is that correct?
Yeah. But all right. Nothing too spectacular. I just been cleaning rugs. We've run into a problem. A lot of people don't want us going into their houses, which is reasonable.
Fair, right? Well, so are you just picking up rugs, or are they actually wanting their home carpet cleaned as well?
So they want their home carpet cleaned, but they're all scheduling it in June and stuff.
Okay.
Because that's when the governors are saying it's going to be safe. Because I guess that's because the governors have that kind of power.
Right. They've set the time frame on the virus. Be like, all right, virus, listen up. If you want to stay in compliance.
Yeah. So I guess the Steve Carino he obeys the the time rules or whatever. I was like, okay, whatever. So.
I am so glad that I am not someone who's in a position who has to make these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that whatever side people fall on, because obviously it feels like there's two sides on the whole everything. Yeah. I hope that no matter how extreme you feel one way or the other, you realize that people are having to make decisions that they probably never thought they would. Now, granted, that goes with signing up for the job. But pretty much no matter what you're going to do, if it goes wrong, it's on you. Even if there's nothing you could have, if you followed the best evidence that you had, assuming that you're doing it, it is a terrible situation, I feel like.
Sure. Yeah, I mean...
Now, again, not saying that they, when you sign up for that, a government-type position where you're over people,
I mean, and we won't talk about this anymore.
Right.
We won't get too political here, but if you're signing up for an office or any kind of responsibility as a leader, and this has never crossed your mind that there might be some kind of tragedy where you have to actually lead, then you probably shouldn't have ran for the whatever you're running
right.
for.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other decision or discussion. But I'm sure this was the last thing on their mind, so I give a little bit of empathy to the position, I guess, of, might not be what you were expecting, but maybe you should have, kind of thing. So
I give none, Ross.
None. Burn them.
So how's your week been?
It was going okay. Back started hurting again, so I spent the majority of last night stuck in my recliner again, because laying flat hurts, sitting upright hurts, bed hurts, recliner hurts the least out of my options. So until I make a device that is like a marionette for me to suspend me and decompress my spine constantly, until it gets totally cleared up, I guess the recliner is where I'm going to spend a lot of time. Like, I'm in
There you go.
a regular desk chair right now,
Yeah.
and it's okay, but it's not comfortable. And then when I stand up, if anyone's ever had like lower back issues, you get that weird hunched over stagger walk, basically.
Yeah.
For a few steps before you can straighten up, and then it is garbage. So looking forward to that going away.
Just sell it. Just sell it like Matt Jackson.
I mean, it feels like that at this point. I've been dealing with it off and on for the better part of 20 years. So,
yeah.
Apparently, when you skateboard, doing large stair gaps where you compress your spine or falling on coping with your back has long-term effects. Although, X-ray wise, like, there's nothing structurally wrong. Like, there's clearly the amount of pain that I constantly find myself in. There's something I'm either doing wrong or that was not picked up on an X-ray. It's hard to say. But I'm also not going to pay for further evaluation at this point. The X-ray was expensive enough.
Sure.
So, but I did get to play, like, watched a decent amount of wrestling and played more Warcraft. And actually, Brawl Stars, the phone game, introduced something that I'll talk about at some point here. So
are you wanting to go into gaming? Is that what you want to do?
I can do either. I have quite a few things to say on both fronts.
Let's go to gaming.
Let's go to gaming? All right. I will let you know on the bumper.
Get over here!
Time's up. Let's do this.
All right. So that's over. For some reason, the computer I'm using is lagging out all over the place when I'm hitting stuff. Like, nothing's working like I'm expecting it to. It's very strange. So, if there's a weird silence that I miss when I do the editing, I apologize to anyone who's listening if that happens. So, what have you been playing this week, if anything?
Just World of Warcraft.
Okay, so that was my biggest thing that I have played, for sure. Although...
Now, I did go on Hearthstone to get that free card back.
Mimsy?
Character. Yeah.
Yes, I actually tweeted from the show's account that Hearthstone reinforced that procrastination is the best policy. Because that was one of the ones, I believe you had to go to the Fireside Gathering or something like that to get.
Yeah, and I was reading forums. People were complaining.
Yeah, the thing is, like, now the computer place we worked at, I don't know if you ever got it from that. There's, like, it looks almost like a stained glass Fireside Gathering card back. One of the guys there had a mobile wireless hotspot before that was, like, super common. And we set up in the configuration room basically like our own Fireside Gathering, because you could do that at the time for it, and got that card back. So I kept waiting for a situation to do that with, I figured to be like me, you, and someone else, because I don't know hardly anyone who plays Hearthstone. But that never happened. So I forgot, honestly, about it. But then I logged in. I didn't realize they were doing an update until I saw there was like a 1 gig patch. And I was like, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up Hearthstone real fast. I did play some of the new... what's it called? The new characters in the Battlegrounds. Man, am I not good with them. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Because, let's see here. I got this pulled up. Oh, that's not what it is. But yeah, like the new heroes. I haven't gotten Kael'thas yet. Okay. I have had my face wrecked by him. My reading comprehension is low, so when I played as Maeve Shadowsong, I did not understand how the hero power worked. I thought that you put them in stasis for the 2 turns, they got buffed, and then you had to buy them. I didn't realize you just got them into your hand until midway through the game. Because I was like, well, I heard people on a podcast talking about how good they think it's going to be, but they didn't really explain it too much. Okay. And now It's like, oh, well, I guess I should have maybe read a little bit more. But either way, have you played any of the new ones in Battlegrounds?
I have not played. I've not really played Hearthstone. Probably about a month.
Okay, you were just getting the hero card.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I saw it's been a while back, but since they added the Demon Hunter, do you? So this is obviously we don't have any inside information, which would be hilarious if we did because we are literal nobodies in the Hearthstone universe. But
Yeah.
so with them adding the Demon Hunter, does that make you hope that they would add an actual Death Knight?
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't. I'm surprised they went with Demon Hunter first. Besides, because technically, if you're going by World of Warcraft, the Death Knights came first.
Well, right, but they did the whole Death Knight cards for everyone. So
They did, sure.
So that was their way of putting Death Knights in. I personally would like to see an actual Death Knight hero card, like full on, like just standalone.
Sure.
Now, really, I would like to see them do Death Knight and Monk, like just put those two in, like over the next however long. But then I want. Now, I'm basing this on the old Raw Deal wrestling card game, where they had like your superstars and you build a deck for them, and everybody had their own ability. So for the most part, it's very similar to how Hearthstone is set up. But they would also have just crazy stuff, like you could build Mae Young, for example, as a deck in wrestling, and she was a senior citizen woman. Now her deck had less cards, and she had some crazy restrictions, but like her ability. So like that game had like a 60 card deck. So there was stuff where like when you took damage, you overturned it, and when you ran out of deck, basically that was your life bar. And like there are things that let you shuffle cards back in, all that kind of stuff. Well, her ability was you could discard a card, and you could look through your opponent's deck and remove a card from the game. So if you knew what their combo was, you could destroy it. But she had less cards in her deck. Instead of 60, she was only allowed to have 40. And there was like restrictions on the type of things that she could play. So where it wasn't totally busted, but it was a fun deck. And if you could get something like that to work, it's like, oh wow, that's really neat. I'd like to see Hearthstone do the same thing, where maybe they make Murloc, and you just have like a Murloc ability. Or it's like, hey, we're introducing Harrison Jones, and his ability is like some kind of whip or treasure themed ability, but give him his own cards, but don't give him the full set of like he doesn't have to have like they launched the Demon Hunter with theoretically like enough cards for almost all the sets that they would have been a part of in a way. Well, you don't have to do that. Give him like, here's Harrison Jones. He's got 10 cards. We'll probably give him a card, every set. He'll get like a card or two, but nothing like the others. Where it's just like a fun, it may never see its way into competitive, but where you could just play as like different people.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd like something like that myself.
Sure.
Because I don't expect him to be like, here's a Death Knight. We did the same amount of work that we did for Demon Hunters and a Monk all in the same go. But if it's like just random character that only has cards now and they don't really fit a particular class, or bread vendor, like the bread vendor in Stormwind that you run past the first time.
Sure.
Like they have some ridiculous ability. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things they can do to make the game spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, my time has been mostly Battlegrounds when I've playing. I'm still really liking that game mode. And I try to clear out a quest or two here and there to keep that train rolling, but I didn't have to use hardly any of my gold, so I'm almost at like 9,000 gold currently. I have so many unopened packs, it's ridiculous. Because I'm not playing, like I haven't burned through, so I'm like, oh, I need this card to make this deck. I have like a Demon Hunter deck, and I have the Cape deck, Zalael or whatever it is that gives you a deck. Like those are my only two constructed decks right now.
Nice.
All right, and here I'm gonna bore you with some Brawl Stars before we get to WoW. So, Brawl Stars, it's the phone mobile game. They added, let's see if it's on their webpage. They added a Brawl Pass, is what they're calling it. So it's basically like the Battle Pass kind of thing. Hold on one second here. I'm about to mute because I'm about to cough all over. Although you'll still get to hear that wonderful cough.
I did.
Yes. It only mutes it on the channel it's recording for whatever reason. Let's see if I can find a little more on this. I'm ill prepared this morning from my recliner time. Basically, you buy it. You can buy it with gems, and then it's the same thing where like as you play, you get stuff unlocked. They have a free version. They have the paid version. Paid version, at the end of it, you get like a hero or whatever you want to call it, or brawler. But you can get them just normally by opening the boxes. And I checked out the Reddit for Brawl Stars. Man, people do not like the Brawl Pass or the Battle Pass idea now, is what I learned. I guess because people... What Supercell has done with other games, where it went from a fairly free-to-play friendly game. Now, this is internet people opinion, so they are extreme, to caution it with that. It basically just turns it into like super pay to win, and it feels real bad and people stop playing. Now, I will say, I tried to play Clash Royale. It was kind of like their card-based game, where like you were trying to siege the other person's tower. That game frustrated me more than anything because it really did feel kind of pay to win to me, where you could unlock the cards and stuff and power them up, but the more money you spent, the better it would be, and it just felt super frustrating. So I don't know. There's people who play a ton of that game still that I've checked out here and there, just trying to see what people thought of it. But the general consensus is there's a lot of angry people, and the whole Brawl Pass idea, a lot of people were unhappy with it. I've seen where some of like their YouTube people, like like the big content creators for this game, they worked it out where it's about the same or better in some cases.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been playing it. They added quests that don't have a timer in some cases. So if you don't have time to play for like 2 weeks somehow, like there's going to be quests that expire, but there's also going to be quests that just stick around, and that helps you progress on the battle pass. So I think even if you're free, you can get through it pretty well. The one thing I did notice is, say it costs $10, the free version of the pass gives you like the in-game currency, but it only gives you about half the amount that you would need to get it. So you would only be able to get the pass if you're totally free to play. You'd only be able to get it every other season, and that's only using your currency on the pass. So most of the ones I've seen, you can usually get it free or real close to season to season. So that's different.
Gotcha.
I mean, I understand they got to make money, but I can see some complaints there. But I just like that progression system where by playing the game you unlock it. Maybe because I really like the MMO RPG style grind or whatever. But
Yeah.
I just thought I'd mention that because that seemed to tear that community in half based on people's opinions. To where I was reading, I was like, it doesn't seem that bad. I mean, one guy was talking about how the ground opened up and swallowed his phone, held it ransom for money. I'm actually not exaggerating. I actually saw someone describing it that way, and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so that's all there. I just wanted some kind of conversation. I'm okay with it. I mean, I still just play the game pretty casual. I spend money on it, but I was looking up the money I've spent on it. Like, I went all the way back to when that game launched on my transaction history with the Apple Store or App Store or whatever it is. And I've paid way less playing it than I have Warcraft. So, and I'm only counting like monthly subscriptions, not where I randomly transfer a faction for absolutely no reason and then transfer it back later on.
Yes, you do that a lot.
So something else. I'm trying to find out if this is real or if I had a dream about this. There was a commercial I saw somewhere for Tiny Warcraft.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No.
All right. This could have been me hallucinating, much like when I was the pastry chef. But
I heard, the only thing I heard about World of Warcraft was possibly they're getting it ready to go on Switch. But
What?
those are obviously just rumors. Yeah.
On Switch.
Yeah, because
How would
it's
that work?
see, I don't know how it would work. Because playing World of Warcraft on a controller, I think would be. I mean, I've seen people do it, but yeah,
It depends on what you're doing. Well, I know in one of the interviews, might have been with Ian Hazacostas, they were asked about the controller support that's coming, and it was exclusively just for accessibility issue for people, because they don't know how to make the game work well on a system.
Sure.
And of all the systems to put it on, Switch seems like it would be the worst. Like, as far as I mean, it would definitely be a different audience, but the power of the Switch is behind the other stuff for sure. So
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
work.
yeah.
I sent you a link to what I saw.
Yeah. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but if you're listening to the show, you can type in World of Warcraft, or I typed in Tiny Warcraft board game. And there's a company that is trying to make it into a board game of some kind. And that's not helpful to anyone, I realize it, but you can research it on your own if you're interested in more Warcraft content, one way or the other. So I'll report more. I'll research it next week and actually have like an opinion formed. But it looked like it was going to be a mobile game, but I can't tell.
Yeah. I don't know. Like you said, let's research it more so that way we can actually, instead of guessing. I mean, yeah,
based on the video, but either way, like, I like the Warcraft universe, so something different is fine. I still don't know why they don't have a mobile game, like on the phone.
Or a fishing game, or
combined. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do. Did they ever, do you remember, you might still be able to, this is going to show how little I pay attention to things. They used to have the mobile armory where you could actually access the auction house. Did that ever come back?
I think I don't think it ever came back.
Okay. I mean, it's probably better, truth be told.
You could still use the app to play that stupid
the Legion stuff?
It's the BFA followers and
yes.
I am so glad. I've not heard anything about it in Shadowlands. I'm glad.
Oh, I have some bad news.
Rid.
Because you know the Covenants are going to have similar, right?
I hope not. I hope they just get rid of this stupid idea that they came up with back in Warlords and just get rid of it.
So, are you ready to move to Warcraft?
Yeah.
Fully? Okay. So, what have you done this week?
Got some jellies.
Yes. So, if anyone
got some more jellies.
So what we did is you had not done any of the Mendenhall or whatever, the Meadery quest line. You hadn't done any of that, had you?
I did when we first started playing on it.
Right. You did it on like a main character.
Yeah.
But you hadn't touched it. So it seems like if you've done it on a main character, that might make it easier, like, to be on an alt.
Yeah.
But you wanted it on your druid. So I still had the pet that you could buy off the auction house, the Seabreeze Bumble, or whatever it is. So I just gave you that. You opened it up by Barry the Bee Guy, and were able to just get right to the
the
Bee-Mount quest. Yeah, and then you just fly north to the cave. So when I first started
I was surprised, like, they don't help you at all on that thing. You don't know where you're going, what you're doing.
Ideally, what happens is when you release the B mount by Barry, it starts like flying around all weird. And did you saw where like the green bubbly stuff was coming or whatever on the ground? You're actually supposed to follow that. Like Barry tells you that if you follow your B for that, it'll get you there.
Okay.
I just had you follow me, so it would lead you there eventually if you followed the quest text or like the the RP text.
Okay.
But I have no idea how long that actually takes if you follow it. So it's easier to just go right there. And then once you get there, if you really read it, it does kind of walk you through it. But we're so conditioned to just click through everything because it doesn't matter.
Who reads text quest?
That was the one thing that was funny about Classic is the amount of people who were just wandering around because they refused.
Yeah.
Because I refuse to believe that you made it to level 30 in Classic, like this go round for sure, without having to back up and read one of your quest texts. Mm-hmm. But people would still, like, instead of just opening it up and reading it, they would still just put in the chat.
Sure.
And even then, some of them really didn't help you very much.
I think the first week I was playing, I was like, I'm going to try to do this like how it actually was in Classic. I'm just going to read, try to figure it out. I'm like, no. That lasted for like a day, and then I went on the mods and got me a quest helper.
Yeah, the Questy or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Questy. Yeah, I don't find many of their quest lines at this point very interesting in a lot of cases.
Sure.
Like for current content, I'm doing the good lord, thank goodness it's over. I did the legendary cloak quest line with Rathion again for my warrior, because I've been playing the warrior probably more than the mage. Like I have slightly better gear on the warrior now.
Okay.
Like because it's melee, it's different than what I'm normally playing. Like I'm hitting people with weapons, and it's a nice change of pace for sure. Although I do get real bad about being turned around because I'm not used to being in melee, so I'll end up getting behind stuff, facing the wrong way. So I would not be raiding anytime soon on a warrior, that's for sure.
Sure.
Now, but back to the B mount. So when you start it, like Barry does his dancing with the bee, which I thought was probably my favorite part of that entire ordeal. To go with like what we were talking about with the ogre who's doing the spider rider thing, like those are up there as my two favorite things so far in Warcraft, and I just found them, in the last month basically. How do you feel about finding the jellies, like when you're flying around? Because you don't have, like, you're not far enough to have the goggles yet. Have you been able to spot them pretty well?
After I did some fine tuning to my graphic settings.
Yeah. Did you set your ground clutter to like the lowest you could?
No, because it looks like garbage. So,
this is true, but if you're trying to find the jellies, you got to sacrifice.
I understand that, but like I told my buddy, because my buddy and me, we were flying around on our druids. He said, I'm just going to turn it down all the way down to 0. all the way to the bottom. That way I can see this stuff better. I was like, yeah, but everything looks like garbage. And if I'm playing a game, I actually want to be somewhat visually stimulated.
Well, you're visually stimulated when you see the jelly a mile away and you know where you're flying to.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe I'm hurting myself, but I think I kept it at like 5.
Well, once you get the goggles, it won't matter.
Sure, but I mean, I can still see them fine. So, I mean... But maybe I should. Maybe I should turn it down to 0.
I don't know. I hate the ground clutter, so I always turn that off. Like
the stupid rabbits.
Yes. I purposely did not tell you about that because I wanted to find out if they were driving you equally insane.
Yes.
First, now at a certain point, now again with you having the ground clutter setting like a normal person, I don't know how it affects it. Even with like the ground clutter off, it took me basically I flew probably 3 laps around the zone, maybe 2, and I started having a pretty good eye for picking them out when they'd render end. But I would still occasionally be looking down, and I'd see one of those stupid rabbits, and I'd start to fly down to it. Now, a lot of times, because it moved, I realized it wasn't one, but some of them, they have like a pretty long idle animation.
Yeah.
And you get down on top of it. So, at one point, I spent much longer than I would care to admit, because it would probably make me a psychopath, going around killing every one of those rabbits I could find, to where I had a target macro for them. Now, make of that what you will.
And can we just say how mean Blizzard is by putting the actual bee stuff right by a horde, like, encampment?
Yeah, I got...
Was that Blizzard's way of saying, like, it's right here?
Well, for me, like, it's funny on both sides, because one, like, well, they don't even know it's there, probably, because I don't think they can see it. Like, the jellies aren't for them.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
But on my side, like, there's been a couple times where I just zoned out, because you can, once you get done with the quest, you can still collect jellies and sell them. And I've been doing that. I think you said you did a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, well, because I don't care about the bee mount.
Right.
So I'm just going for pure greed.
Right. And so I'll zone out, because I'll spend, like, the bee goggles are on an hour cooldown, and then the stirrups, where you don't dismount if you're not a druid, that's a 2-hour cooldown. So I'll zone out for like an hour at a time, sometimes grinding jelly here and there, and I forget where I'm at. And I've found myself once, like, right inside like a horde encampment that was like the player horde base, so it flagged me immediately. And then I basically had to wait 5 minutes because people were following me around at that point.
You know, and that's one thing, because as our one buddy would say, we play on a Care Bear server where, you know, you don't really do PvP fighting.
Yeah, because that's not what I'm playing for.
But what cracks me up about World of Warcraft is there's fake horde, or I'm assuming with the alliance would be fake.
Yeah.
And then there's real. And it's hard to determine which one's fake and which one's real, which one's going to flag you and which one's not, you know?
Yeah. Well, unless you're, like, paying super close attention to your frames. But, I mean, I'm sure there's an add-on for it, but...
sure.
Trying to think. But, yeah, so... If you're looking for gold, don't do it on our server, please, at this point, because we have multiple people doing it now, plus who's already on the server. But the jellies are a decent source of income. I think there's things that you can farm that are probably better, but for my taste, you can just kind of zone out doing it with the goggles, because they just pop up on the minimap. And as it is now, they sell eventually. Going further, like, if more people come back closer to the pre-event for the next expansion, they might shoot up in price, or it might get to where everybody who wants it has it, and there's no market for them. But as it is right now, it's a decent way to make some gold.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting, and I haven't looked it up to see why this leather still costs a lot. I think it's called Magnificent Leather. But it's like Panda. It's like back in the Panda expansion leather.
Okay.
And if you go to the Isle of Giants,
yeah,
and you just kill all the dinosaurs on that island, and it's like 100% drop rate of this magnificent leather.
You don't have to
skin
skin it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so you need skinning. Okay.
Yeah, but you post it on an auction house, it sells every time. It's weird.
Well, I know, isn't there like some kind of dinosaur bone that sells?
Yeah, the dinosaur bones out there. Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know what the leather is used for. I've been looking more, like you had talked about, where you were wanting to get the long boy, the auction house mount, before it goes away. I'm kind of in the same boat where I'd like to do that. And I've been looking, basically, I'm trying to find, like, videos or things like that on the gold making. But the thing is, if someone puts, oh, this farm's awesome, there's another dozen yahoos like myself who sees that. So I'm just trying to get an idea of stuff that sells good. But the reality is I'm probably going to have to start either using TSM or just, like, look through the auction house to see what ingredients are selling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most value right now and do that. I
Well, I
have
saw
about
this-
zero luck for auction house, like, like the gear grinds for transmog. I do not do very well with that.
Well, I saw this one guy on YouTube. He was talking about making money, and what he's talking about, it makes sense. But my God, I would be so mind numbed because he was talking about. He's like alts are the key. So what you want to do is world map. So every day,
I might have watched that video this morning, actually.
and he was just
Early.
talking. He's like world map. He's like every day there's at least 2 or 3 quests that offers 2,000 gold.
Yep.
He's like, 2,000 gold might not seem a lot, but if you're doing 12 volts,
Yep. I was
he's like,
watching
that's a
that.
lot of gold.
Well, because he was talking about the one, if it was the same one, and hold on, I'm going to look at my phone here and see if it's still on my, because I was watching it on the YouTube phone app, because I can skip ads that way if he shows up. It seemed like a younger guy. One of his characters had like a name where it was a Mexican in the name, like I noticed.
It could be. Yeah.
It's not showing up at the front. But yeah, he
Well,
was talking about, I got 14 alts, so if you have even $1,000 a day for your daily quests, or your world quests, I'm sorry, they're world quests now.
Yeah.
That's 14,000 across all of those. You do that every day, you're building up money.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, and I'm also wanting to just bash my head against the keyboard because.
Well, then he was talking about doing the Paragon rep quests, and he's like, that gives you 2 to 3 or 4,000 gold every time.
Well,
I'm thinking, and what he's saying is accurate. You can make some gold from that, but you talk about some mind-numbing.
Well, the thing is, like, say you're logging into your alt every day. Like, if you've been doing this for like months, just by naturally doing the world quest for the gold, you've been getting rep that whole time, so you've probably hit it, like, especially this late into the expansion.
Yeah.
I barely can play 2 characters. Like, one that's like my main where I do everything, and then the other that's like, I like this one right now. So I'm not.
I mean,
there's
he was saying to go to Warlords and Legion and run all the raids.
Yep. Yeah, we
on
watched the
every
same
tune
video.
that you have.
That's funny.
On every tune that you have. I'm like, yeah, I could do that, and yeah, he's right. You could make a lot of gold, and you probably could get the long boy within a month or whatever. But I'm not doing that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because it's like right now we have an awful lot of time to try to get that 5 million gold.
Sure.
So is it good? Because when he was going over that, I was like, I can probably do that once or twice. Like, I might be able to do it 2 times because, like, I have almost no plate transmog. So just to get weapons and different things for transmog, that's easy enough to do on my warrior. My mage, it's whatever. I have the transmogs that I want right now, except for, like, some of the Legion stuff that I'm working through. But I don't think I could stomach doing that on 4 or 5 characters.
No.
Like, which obviously shows that I don't want that mount nearly as bad as someone who does, maybe. Like, I passively want it, perhaps. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I might give it a try, because I'm pretty much stuck in the house at this point still anyway, like with my back and everything going on. So maybe when we're done recording, I'll try to force myself through them.
So what'll happen is you'll get like 100,000 gold or whatever. You'll be like, oh my god, he's right.
And then next week I'll be like, so I got the mount.
So, because I will say this to you, just from the time that I played Conan Exiles with you, and the amount of thralls that you gathered in one night was quite impressive.
Well, yeah, I have that, like, the addictive part of my, like, that addictive personality trait, but you never know what exactly it's going to be. Sometimes it's trying to figure out a way to make bread or a pizza from scratch, and then sometimes it's like, I really want this in this video game, so I'm going to do that. To where, like, because the B-mount thing, I did it like a day and a half. Like, I just grinded the jelly almost nonstop. Or it might have been like the weekend, but I did it pretty quickly because I was able to be like, I really want this. And then it was a goal that is not time gated.
Sure.
So part of me, like, I do not like time gating in games like this at all. But at the same time, I see what it turns me into. I turn into Golem, basically. My precious bee mount. I don't need to sleep or shower.
Sure.
It's like I'm a little goblin or something about things. And it's the same with this in like Conan with the thralls. I was like, we need more thralls. Yes.
Yes.
You know, I was just on a mission.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we bored people enough talking about
Yes.
World of Warcraft here. So
there's something I want to mention that I've been doing for fun. This goes with the transmog, is using a random number generator to create your transmog set in Warcraft.
yes.
So the way I've been doing it is I will go to, like, say, the headpiece. I've used, I don't use the slash roll in game, although you probably could. I just pull up like a random number generator from Google. And so say you have like 10 pages of headpieces. You do 1 through 10, generate the random number. If it gives you a 5, you go to page 5. If you have 18 pieces there, you do 1 to 18. Whatever number it gives you, that's your headpiece. Then you move on. You do your chest, you do your shoulder, you do everything. For weapons, like with the warrior, you have like the different two-handed transmogs that you can do. So
Yeah.
I'll do one roll for what type of weapon it's going to be, and then I'll pick the weapon out of it, but I don't use Legion artifacts because those actually look cool. So I just use the normal. So you'll have to see. It's awful. And then you basically commit to wearing it for a while. Like, you just don't change it.
No, I can't do that.
Oh, it's awesome. It's the best thing ever. There needs to be an in-game way to do it with a 24-hour lock where you can't change your gear.
Yes.
All right. Shall we move to wrestling?
That's the only thing that's on our plate.
You got? All right.
Well, I don't know what the hell's going on here, folks. Looks like he's just wearing blue pants.
This is a revolution.
All right. So, do you want to talk about AEW or Money in the Bank?
Let's talk about WWE stuff, I guess, because we got NXT in your house logo, and
Yes. Let me pull that
then Money
up.
in the Bank, and then
So-
AEW.
For anyone, if it's on the YouTube thing, I got like the picture here. But yeah, they did. They're doing NXT in your house takeover, and they're busting out the old design from when they were doing those half pay-per-views, I guess you would call them, or specials.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're going to use the, like, I assume they still have it sitting around somewhere, that house set? Do you think they're going to have that for the event?
I think it'd be cool, but I don't know.
I hope so.
I mean, like you said, it's probably in that big warehouse they have.
Yeah.
Which you know what? And I'm surprised that Vince has not made that a museum.
Yeah, like
where
a
he can
physical
charge.
museum.
Because fans would actually, I think, because it'd be neat. Because I would go there. This is see it once. Because I mean, there's a lot of crap back there that they
you
have.
see like the you'll see like stories online every once in a while where there's like discussion about it. And then have you seen the thing where Triple H and Stephanie are going to be doing the show where they're looking for wrestling oh my god, that stuff,
memorabilia.
Yeah. It's like Porky Pig, good lord.
Yeah.
But they're going to be doing a show about that.
No, I've not seen that.
Yeah, like they're going to be going around trying to find like hard to find things. I know like Zack Ryder was kind of complaining. He's like, if only there was someone they had within the company who looked for hard to find things, because he does like the action figures and collectibles and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they mentioned Conrad because he does all kinds of, you know, he has a lot of collectibles and stuff as well.
Sure.
But so who knows? Maybe that show will actually lead to them doing a real museum. Because yeah, like you said, because when I've gone to Mania, they have like the access or whatever where they do have a few different things that you can look at. But I'd like to see all the stuff.
Sure.
I mean, I'd only ever have to go like one time, and I'd be done with it. But it'd be something to go see. Now, my other hope is that they use the old set and they let old man Shawn Michaels swing out on the rope.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
OSHA violation.
Yes.
So,
But I mean, yeah, I mean the whole I mean, I like it. I like this background for it and everything. It's neat.
Yeah, it's a nice little throwback. It feels very when John Cena, it felt like used a lot of the throwback stuff for a while there with some of his design. So, now, did you get to watch Money in the Bank?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Now, first off, it's mainly going to be me talking about the Money in the Bank match. We had a power outage that lasted the entire day Sunday, and I saw basically the Drew-Seth match and little bits of other stuff, but I made it a point to watch the Money in the Bank match. The first thing I want to get out of the way, because this is my only real complaint that I feel is nitpicky but legitimate, Otis is billed at 330 pounds, 5'10".
Okay.
So there's been the story of the ladder not being able to support his weight.
Okay.
A previous, and I looked at pictures, it looks like it's the same ladder. I believe they're a 12-foot ladder, double-sided, based on the riveting. Braun Strowman also won, and I think he was able to climb a normal ladder. I know Big Show had the super reinforced ladder the one time. I know Brock Lesnar climbed up a normal ladder, and he weighs more than Otis. But I pulled up different types of ladders and things like that. I even sent you a link for one of them, and it is, I believe this is the twin-sided, but like the riveting at the top is about the same. It is one of the 12-foot, it's a Werner aluminum step ladder, and obviously WWE pulled off any logos that they could, so I can't tell. But like even this ladder has a 375-pound load limit on it.
Sure.
So the way when Otis steps on the ladders and they just explode, that's not how that would work. Now, there are ladders that only have like a 300-pound load limit on them. And if he is truly 330 like his build, they're still not going to just break the way they do. Like, failure by like that small a percentage isn't going to be like that. So that drives me crazy.
So, okay.
So with that out of the way, and going with the story they're telling, so the match starts out like downstairs basically with everybody.
Okay.
I take it back. I have one more complaint. They built up Miss Lacey Evans as doing research into the blueprints of the building and all this kind of stuff. And throughout the whole thing, she's wandering around lost like everybody else. It's like, so she's dumb, is what you're telling me.
Gotcha.
Like, at no point, unless I missed it, because maybe I got up and grabbed a drink or something, was there something where, like, she outsmarted everybody and showed up somewhere, like, way ahead of everyone and they had to, like, scramble to catch her or something? That didn't happen at all. So, like, what was the point of all those videos of her, like, studying the blueprints and being smarter than everybody to...
I think WWE sometimes just kind of forgets why they're doing stuff.
Right, but either way, so they're just fighting throughout the whole building. They're fighting in the gym, which has like the throwback 90s style design. That fits very well with the In Your House logo, truthfully. But like at one point, Baron Corbin throws a 45-pound, it might have been a 35, I think it was a 45-pound plate through the wall, basically, and then is just staring at it. So I don't know if that was supposed to be him having a realization that maybe he's going too far, or they just forgot what they were supposed to do, and they're like, oh, it wasn't supposed to go through the wall, oh my god. Or he was like, oh, I almost killed somebody. Or maybe his foreshadowing that he is willing to murder people. So as the match goes on, there's all these weird rooms every so often. Well, there's like an Undertaker room that has a casket and stuff that AJ Styles gets locked in, and he like freaks out when he sees it. Like Brother Love shows up, Paul Heyman's there.
So one question. Now, is AJ Styles still part of the club, or did they just get rid of that?
He was wearing an OC gear.
Okay. No,
So
that's
he is still whatever. Hard to say. Maybe he's just going to replace him. Like, they're going to have Kane come in and be the fake Luke Gallows. That would actually be really funny. Like, since Gallows was fake, yeah, they should do that.
Sure.
I love the idea, though. I saw people complain about this, but again, this my kind of thing. Where people were like, it's dumb that you would just have Brother Love is just randomly walking around the WWE headquarters. It's like, actually, I think it'd be amazing if they did just have random rooms that weren't being used, that were like themed for like Mankind themed room for no reason. Like, it just looks like a boiler room, but it's on like the 10th floor.
Old superstars just live there.
Yeah, like you got a room where like Coco Beware is just sitting in there.
That's what I'm saying. That's the narrative they should do. They should just like have different rooms where, like, oh yeah, he lives there. Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, there was something where Cody had gone to the headquarters one day for like a shoot they were doing. And, like, one of the things is I want to say it was like the 3rd floor or something, but he put a little. There was a tweet attached to it where someone had posted it, and he was like, "No one on that floor was told anything that's going on." So this was one of the most awkward things I've ever done in my life. Because it's basically a bunch of office workers, and then Cody in full gear, tights, everything. It shows up and is I think it was when he was putting bags on people's heads or something. I don't know. But they just didn't tell anybody that he was coming. So he's just interrupting anything they're trying to get done. So, like, the idea that weird stuff does happen there. Or it's like, oh, Paul Heyman with, like, a super giant buffet just for himself that leads into a food fight. Can you guess, out of all the competitors, who started the food fight?
No.
It was Otis. I'm sure you're surprised.
Now, I'm looking at the results page, and maybe I'm looking at old Money in the Bank. It says Shane McMahon was a part of this. Was Shane McMahon part of this, or am I looking at an old one?
He might have been in there somewhere.
Okay.
Because, like, they AJ and Daniel Bryan fight into Vince's office one point, and Vince is sitting there. And there are a few people who work for WWE that tweeted out, they're like, of all the complaints about crazy stuff at the headquarters building, I don't think people realize that this shot with Vince wearing jeans is the weirdest thing that could have possibly happened out of this whole thing. Like, Brother Love being there, the Undertaker room, not that far out of the norm. Vince in jeans apparently doesn't happen.
I see my problem. I'm looking at Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank in previous years. So
okay. But like, there's this one room, like, I'm scrolling down through like the WWE official page where Baron Corbin's they have like 2 turnbuckles or something. Like, it's basically like a Hell in a Cell setup where there's just ropes in just one of the rooms. Like, I don't know if that's like part of a tour where you can get your picture taken or what, but they just have like ring ropes set up in one of the rooms. And I thought that was very weird.
Yeah.
They fought in one of the boardrooms where they had like a fake Money in the Bank briefcase that I guess Dana Brooke thought she won. And then Stephanie came in and was like, well, the real one's on the roof. Which again makes people look dumb, because it's like, wouldn't you know that...
Yeah, wouldn't you have got the rules down before you started doing this?
Right, or at least know, like, it seems like they would tell you the main objective is on the roof. Like, that's the whole point of the thing. They're not just going to hide it in one of the rooms like Spy vs. Spy. If you ever played that Nintendo game, that was an awesome game. So they, like, the women get to... There's a lot of other stuff, like, I think Dana Brooke eats it from some guy mopping. But it looked like she really hit the back of her head. Like, it looked like a legitimate, like, slip on the floor and fall. But the end result, they get to the roof. Actually, like, Baron Corbin fights with the women at some point up there. Because he, like, keeps shooing people away. Even though there's 2 briefcases, one for men, one for women.
Wait, so the men and the women are matches are going on at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, I thought
that's
you knew that,
interesting.
so I just skipped over that part. But yeah, so it's basically they're all there, and it's like go, and then just insanity ensues. But
That's okay. I mean, that's an interesting way of doing it.
I mean,
guess.
it made it interesting because you got a lot more stuff going on
Sure. Okay.
at once. But they eventually get to the roof. So Asuka ends up winning the women's. So she's got the thing, and then she's out of there, and then it carries on. And during like the fighting, like it becomes more like a normal ladder match at this point, or Money in the Bank match, until you get Baron Corbin throws people off the roof. So Rey Mysterio gets thrown.
So like a Hulk Hogan, Big Show type thing.
If you're really paying attention, you can tell like where he got thrown off, or where they get thrown off, where it wouldn't actually be off the building, but just off that section they're at. But when you see it, you're just like, wait a minute, because like you hear him hit like almost immediately, so it's not that far of a fall, but it's so like the visual is, did he just throw them off the roof? Is that what they're going with? Holy crap! But so you get to the end part, and Styles is one of the guys up there. They're trying to get the brief, and they pull it down at the same time. And then it's Baron Corbin, and for some reason, I don't know what's been going on between them, because I thought that feud was over. Elias shows up and whacks Baron Corbin with his guitar. It explodes. The way he falls makes them, like, since they both have it, neither one of them's won it yet. So I'm guessing we're going with like fumble and football rolls at this point.
Oh,
where
I thought you were going to say that his guitar exploded and had dog food in it or something.
Oh, that would have been awesome. They should do that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so like Corbin kind of knocks it out of AJ Styles' hand, so he can't get a hold of it, and it flies up into the air, and Otis catches it. So Otis wins, even though the ladder, he couldn't climb up it. What I'm thinking about, I think they did the same thing with Braun, where Braun couldn't climb the ladder, but it might have been Big Show. But either way, I'm still going to complain that they're rated up to 375. But yeah, so you have Otis as your Money in the Bank winner for that.
Okay.
All right.
But Jimmy, Otis is an interesting guy. I feel sorry for the other guy.
Tucker?
I think he's gonna get left behind.
I don't really know. Now I cannot. Now I enjoyed, like, besides my little nitpicky things, I enjoyed this. It was very different. They took a chance doing it. I could see if you're wanting it to be all serious, that you're going to hate this, because it's not. But if you're just looking to be entertained by pro wrestling type stuff or sports entertain, I have been sports entertained. Let's say that.
Okay.
Like,
Gotcha.
when I got done watching it, I wasn't like, I can't believe I just wasted my time. Now that Hell in a Cell with Fiend and Seth Rollins, that irritated me. This, I was just like, well, I like it that they did something a little bit different for the finish, where the briefcase was fumbled. Now I've seen that in like ladder matches for belts and stuff, where it falls and somebody went, something like that. But I don't think they've used this yet for Money in the Bank. And like you said, Otis is definitely a change of pace from what you would expect, because you would expect like Styles or Corbin or Daniel Bryan, out of everyone involved, to probably be the winner.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know what their long-term thing is. I tried to watch Smackdown last night, because Otis was on the Miz and Morrison show.
Okay.
But he stood there being they have their little setup in the ring, and they're looking at him. And instead of looking at them when he's talking, he's just looking at the camera and thrusting every time he talks.
Because that's how you have a conversation.
I mean, that was the end of Smackdown for me. I can't stand it. I'm not like a Chris Farley fan, or like that style of humor, really. And he has a lot of that, just like screaming or thrusting or Right, and it's like, all right, dress up like the Kool-Aid Man, and you might have me. Like honestly, actually, if they made like a Kool-Aid Man style shirt with his face on it, that'd be awesome. I wouldn't buy it, but I would be like, that is brilliant.
I mean, Otis cracks me up because if you are not a wrestling fan and you don't know who he is, I still go back to that night I was at the casino and Smackdown was on, and he was eating a turkey or something, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and just going doing his Otis gimmick,
Right.
and everyone, I just remember these old ladies sitting at the slot machine was like, "Who in the world is that fat?" You know, they use a cuss word there, but it's just funny because so if you don't know who Otis is,
Right.
He comes off very gimmicky and very
Right.
just,
Well, and
yeah,
if
insane.
you don't realize that he does powerlifting and he's a beast of a human being, like you're just seeing like a big heavyset dude screaming about eating food and thrusting. So I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it embarrasses me as a wrestling fan.
maybe
When-
maybe
but
that's what it have. Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's one of those meat issues, but like I don't hate him being the winner of the Money in the Bank though, because like you said, it's different, and he's like a new guy. So all right, let's see what he can do. God, I hate the caterpillar too. Like moves like there's just so it's like if you took everything that I typically hate for like a gimmick or a persona or something and ball it all together, you
Otis has
basically
90% of them.
yeah, he's an awful lot. I'll make a checklist for the future to go through.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, like I don't want him to fail or be like, it's not like fire him or anything like that. I get that there's people who love it, but man, it is not for me. So I will happily root against him.
So the only match that I even cared about was Braun and Wyatt. So how did that end up? Was that good?
That was weird.
Stupid.
The puppets were around ringside, and we had Sweater Braun. So, or I'm sorry, Sweater Bray, as opposed to the Fiend.
I was going to say Sweater Braun, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, they did do, like, leading up to it, Bray had kept trying to give him, like, the black mask from when he was in the Wyatt family.
Yeah.
And at one point towards the end, Braun actually put it on, and it was basically a mind game against Bray, where Bray thought he had brought him back, and he was like, oh, he's going to be so happy, like, kind of talking about the Fiend, I guess, where he'd be pleased that Braun was coming back or something like that. And then Braun takes off the mask and basically power slams Bray, and that's kind of the end of it.
Get these hands.
Yeah. The thing is with that, like, he was such a forgettable footnote, it felt like, in the Wyatt family. To me, at least.
Well,
like, it's not like
when he was introduced, it seems like somebody in WWE, McMahon, just grew tired of that gimmick, and yeah.
right. Well, I think he was like with the Wyatt family because he was super brand new or green, whatever you want to call him, and it was to get experience around people who knew what they were doing, which is fine.
Sure.
But it's not like he was I don't know. I never felt like he was a huge deal with them.
Gotcha.
Because he was just like the silent enforcer that didn't do a whole lot other than do like a head and arm choke to Reigns and Ambrose that one time. And then that, is whatever. I'm sure this is leading to the Fiend and Bray, or Fiend and Braun having a match.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was good. Like, they beat each other up. I can't imagine wrestling in a sweater and jeans. Like, that seems awful. Like, I don't know. Because they have, like, the super giant fan that circulates the air, but man.
The way Bray dresses, and I don't know if this is just how the character dresses or this is how he actually dresses in real life. I don't know how and being a big man myself, I don't know how he is comfortable wearing the outfits that he wears.
The sweater I can see, because, like, he's a big dude, but he's also, like, a strong guy.
Sure.
So you have like that, like you can usually tell like traps is what I look for, but when it comes to the pants, his jeans always
Yeah.
seem really tight, and
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like when I
No,
see
I
people
don't know how he does it.
just normal like skinny jeans, I don't get how people wear those or why. No part of my brain understands it.
So the rest of the money bank, not really memorable.
Not really.
Okay.
I'm looking through here. Like Bailey and Tamina had their match. I mean, it was a match. Bobby Lashley beat up R-Truth. The tag match was pretty crazy. They had like that 4-way tag. I did not see anything from the Jeff Hardy Cesaro match. I assume that was a good match. Those guys are both pretty good. So I don't know.
Sure.
Now, the big thing that was crazy for Raw is because it turned out where Becky's pregnant, so she's leaving. So they opened up the Asuka's Money in the Bank, and it actually had the belt inside it. So she's actually just the champion. Like, they made it for that. Which is interesting.
Okay.
I would have loved if there was a... He's not on the right show, but if there would have been something where Otis, like, was watching TV, and then he opened his up to see if the belt was in it, but then was disappointed. You know, something like that. I think would have been funny.
Turkey leg or something.
Right. But yeah, so like, I mean, it wasn't the best ever, obviously, with what's going on, but I was entertained by what I was able to see. Now, had I sat through the entire show, I don't know. It was actually much shorter, too, than most pay-per-views. I think it was like right around 2.5 hours.
Now, did you hear what Joe Buck said, the NFL announcer said?
He commentates many
in
things.
baseball. Yeah. In any case, he was saying, and now I've not read about this. I only heard about it on the radio. I assume they would be lying, but I guess the NFL is thinking about doing virtual fans and piping in crowd noise.
See, I saw where they were going to do. At first, I wanted to be like, "Are you kidding me?" And then I was like, "Well, a football game is a lot easier. Like, how often does the home team get booed? Unless you're the Bengals." Like, so adding crowd noise to, like, we'll use we'll use the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
So if you're watching a Jags game on TV, and they're the home team, and they throw like a 50-yard pass, you expect that you're going to hear cheering. That's fine.
Sure.
You expect if the other team does the same thing, you might hear some booing.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's how it goes.
Sure.
You don't usually get "you effed up" chants in the NFL, or all of a sudden except for I can't remember which guy. It's happened so many times. It was one of the younger quarterbacks, Chad Pennington, when he got cheered off the field when he got injured. I think was that when he was with the Dolphins.
It could have been, yeah.
I don't know. I think it happened in Cleveland too, but like that's the exception. Like that doesn't happen very often. Whereas in wrestling, who knows what's going to happen as far as like someone being cheered.
I would hate it. I would hate it in wrestling. I'm thinking I will really hate it in football because I'm just like,
Well, I mean, I think not to say that I think it's smart. I think it's totally dumb because it's going to be bizarre. Like,
yes,
depending on how they shoot it. Now, if they're doing tight shots, like from goal line to goal line, so you're not seeing the empty stadium, you might be able to make it work, kind of like the Madden view from the video games or the 2K5 view. But yeah, you're going to know there's no one really there.
Well, the thing, because I was listening to this on the radio yesterday, and the guy had an interesting idea, and if people weren't people, this would be a great idea. But like the announcer said, I can see it going south real quick. Is if you actually had like TVs, monitors like set up, and you actually put people like webcam and actually them being there type thing, and so you would just put their faces on the TV screens as a match is going or football's going or whatever. But he's like, if people, so he's like, if people were just normal, it would be a pretty cool idea. But he's like, I can picture people doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
that should be.
the vetting process
Yes.
would be intense.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, you'd get people who were doing it legitimate, but something really weird does happen out of their control. What do you do? Like, yeah, but I mean, I'll give if NFL like, I mean, I think that'd be neat because you have like some kind of presence, for people. But yeah, like now NFL though, if they add the crowd noise, I get it. It makes more sense for a game like that, but it's still dumb. Like, just no crowd. That's fine. Just do whatever, or do what AEW is doing and have like some crowd and just mic them.
Yeah.
Like whether it's like family or production or whatever you're allowed to get away with. Like, there's got to be a way to get some legitimate noise.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so going into AEW here.
Yeah. So this was not a very impressive Dynamite to me. For sure.
Yeah. I didn't really get into it that much.
I didn't hate it. It advanced some things along, but it wasn't like some of the ones recently, even with nobody there, have been real good. So my first grievance against this episode is Cody bumping the barrier after revving it up for 20 minutes from 10 feet away. So
yeah. See, a lot of people had a problem with Jake the Snake's promo.
I think it was deliberately.
He's a bad guy. I mean, that's what bad guys do.
Well, and I'm assuming that Brandy is going to get one over on Jake as the payoff to this.
Yes.
At some point, like, even if Archer wins the match, I assume she's going to get one over on Jake by the end of it, or or one of the other someone's going to, would be my guess.
Sure.
So there's payoff.
But yeah, the whole Cody thing, I'm like, someone should have told him this is not going to look good. This is going to look stupid.
Yes. Now let me repaint this for you a little bit and see if it makes it better than what they did. So they're doing the interview with in the ring, or Archer is there and Jake's talking, and they're kind of like panning around the ring. So they start on the far, like the side that Cody comes from, but they're walking around the ring or however they do it, to where you can see where he runs into the garbage cans and stuff, basically. But instead of them cutting to him revving the truck up for no real reason, all of a sudden you just see the truck come in and hit that stuff, basically like as a view behind Jake and Archer, and then you see Cody run into the ring, and then maybe they have a camera there. Do you think that would have made it better?
Yeah, the whole part of them showing him revving the truck,
like the front,
truck up,
they pan from the front of the truck to. Well, and then when you see how short of a distance he's going, that was the worst part.
I'm like, this is bad. They could have did this better. So yeah.
Now, when it got to the actual, like when he got brawling with him, it was good, but that was just like, dude, someone had to say this isn't gonna work, right? Like, this is gonna look awful. No way.
I don't know.
That seems like the thing that needs to be sudden and not telegraphed like that.
Yeah, I think AEW. I think that my one criticism. Well, yeah, one of the criticisms I have of AEW. It seems like everyone's friends there, and I don't think they want to criticize somebody's idea.
Right.
So they just go with it.
Now that whole thing, if you would have had a crowd that would have like started cheering when they cut to Cody, probably wouldn't have been so. But I still would be saying the exact same thing that I have now. Like, this was pretty hokey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was bad. But yeah, so then they brawl. They get pulled apart basically, and Roberts pulls them away. But that part of it I thought was good. And then,
I mean, I think that spot might have worked better in a non-serious match type thing. Like Orange Cassidy, he could have pulled that off.
Right.
That's
Well,
pretty cool.
The way they executed it. Now, if
Yeah.
you change up how it works and it's more sudden or something like that, I think it's fine for that. But yeah, it didn't really fit the tone they were going for, to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's my taste on it. But I mean, whatever. Cody's admitted to being a little over the top himself, so
Sure.
it could be that they're like, "Nah, this is bad," and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna make it work. Watch." And then he just didn't commit to destroying his truck. That's really what needed to happen there.
Jurassic Express versus the Best Friends.
Yeah, this whole thing was basically setting up, to me, setting up Phoenix and Orange Cassidy.
Sure.
It was
Best
nice
Friends.
to see everybody. They keep winning.
Yeah. I whatever.
Because you don't like Chuck Taylor, or you just don't like the whole package,
I don't like the group. I mean, other than Orange Cassidy,
right?
I think if you would have, I don't know, the group itself, I just hate the group. I just don't like. I
Just
think the
whatever it
wrestlers,
is, it just doesn't
the
work for you.
wrestlers themselves, away from the groups,
Yeah,
I think they're all right. Orange Cassidy is clearly the star of all three of them, but yeah, the best. Yeah.
it just doesn't work for you somehow. That's fine. I mean, that's now. I'm not like best friends, but I think they're good. But I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not invested in them really. Like,
Sure.
I'm probably like a lot of people where it's like I'm more interested in Orange Cassidy. Now, like Trent is really good, but
Sure.
I'm just not into the other two very much. But I mean, they make a pretty good team. But either way, with this one, we got best friends go over. They also are setting up what's his face, Marco Stunt and MJF for next week, and then working towards the Jungle Boy MJF feud that's going to happen at Double or Nothing. I'm trying to think. I mean, Phoenix and Orange Cassidy, I'm interested to see that. To see how Phoenix makes that work. Because if it was against Pentagon, you could just have him do Zero Fear with Orange Cassidy with his hands in his pockets for like 30 minutes.
Sure.
All right, and we have returned from what will probably be edited out, unless I'm so lazy I just leave all kinds of garbage in there. Saul's computer decided it was not waiting on an update.
Oh, it wanted to do it.
I was like, now. So, I believe, because you were still with me when we got to talking about, briefly there, they're setting up the MJF Marco thing, and then MJF going against Jungle Boy. So, there was a thing with Moxley where he didn't talk to anybody. We got the Fatal 4-Way with the women, and I was saying that was better, I thought, than some of the multi-women matches they've had. Although, like, the reverse Rana or Poison Rana spot was horrifying. And you could see Colt Cabana, I believe it was, like, just jumps to turn away, putting his hands upon his head instantly in horror. Throughout the match, they were building up Britt against Statlander. Because, like, the finish to the match, she has the lockjaw in on the outside of the ring with her latex glove for safety. Just won't let it go for... She doesn't even care about winning the match. She's just doing that.
Yeah, the only thing that makes sense to me was like, okay, so you don't want to win this match. Okay, gotcha. That's the only thing I took from that.
Well, they could have explained it as inexperience, where she's just so... got it out for Statlander all of a sudden. Hard to say. Because, like, obviously Sheeta's going into the title match or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would make more sense for her to be wanting Sheeta for the busted nose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, there's a couple different... Because they could play it up where, like, even though she's not happy about it, she knows it's the best thing that could have happened to her. So she's not as angry as Sheeta as she could be, maybe? I don't know.
It makes you wonder if I don't know. It's like if like with it with this Double or Nothing coming up, if Nyla and John Moxley will lose the belts because maybe of where they're located, maybe Nyla and John Moxley are in states where lockdowns might be a little bit more difficult for them to get out more.
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
definitely. Well, I know Moxley's Vegas area. No idea where Nyla is, but
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely be into it. It's hard to say. Or they might have better stories that they can do. Like if they do Sheeta against Britt for a while, like that's a feud they can work on till the next pay-per-view if they wanted. And then Brody Lee running with the Dark Order. Obviously, you can do a little bit more with that in the short term while things get sorted out, basically. So it might be the case. Let's see. But either way, like I thought, for the most part, the match was better. Like the women seem like they're getting better for sure. Still, once in a while, you'll get those weird things, but I mean that happens with men's matches as well. So
Yes.
it's sometimes I think there's some unfair criticism that way, where it's like I've seen way worse from other. Like I've seen what's his name, Kenny's partner from the Golden Lovers, dropped on his neck. I think he just does that like normal though. That's his thing, is trying to paralyze himself or something. We got our tag team match with Santana and Ortiz against Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. I mean, just a normal match. It wasn't anything super crazy on this one.
Nothing special. Just I mean, other than I like Proud and Powerful.
Yeah. No, they're good.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think they could. Well, I think they should have won the match. But then again, I guess you would be hurting Matt Hardy for keep losing. So
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and they kind of get their revenge anyway. So, and
It's
I
true.
mean, they were a large part of last week, and I mean, stronger together kind of thing. But either way, there was something I was going to say during it. Oh, Tiger Style from Ortiz.
Yeah.
That seems like a thing that I should hate, but I still love it. Like every
Sure.
time. Now, I don't know that he needs to spam it 30 times in a row, but we got our Taz and Darby Allin interview thing where
Weird.
where he pointed at, like, well, it was weird because later on, like, Taz says something.
I don't know what the payoff is. I don't know.
Absolutely no idea, because you find out, like, Darby mentions that he was like a third place in Idaho for amateur wrestling, so he knows what's going on with it. But then I don't know if it was on the after show that they do, like the YouTube after show, where Taz was like, well, then he's like, I was just trying to help, but he was like, but if he is like did amateur wrestling, he should have known to watch his shoulders. I was like, that's not helping him any. So yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know where they're
Taz
going.
going to come out of retirement? Or,
No.
where are you going with this? I don't.
Right. Well, or do you end up with somebody who does help him? Now, I heard an interesting rumor, I guess, where there's some thought that Sting might show up and do something. And the fact that Cody has compared Darby to Sting a few times,
Sure.
that maybe Sting basically coaches Darby at some point.
Be interesting.
Because someone was like, it is real strange that all of a sudden Chris Jericho's been using a baseball bat and constantly having it around. And then on one of the online shows they do, there's a rack of baseball bats, and now there's a picture of the singer Sting above them all of a sudden.
Okay.
So there's a lot of rumor that I don't even know how you would confirm something one way or the other. But
Well, with Chris Jericho, he kind of reminds me of a cheesy, over the top Negan character. That's what he
Right.
kind of reminds me of.
well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense with the street fight too, that he'd be like, nah, I'm gonna bring a bat. That'd be the weapon I would really go with. So that's what I'm gonna do. But if, say, Sting was going to try to have a match, which I don't think should happen, but someone like Jericho would probably make sense.
Well,
'Cause
Seth
Jericho's
Rollins is
style
not
would
in
work.
AEW, so
What's that?
you don't have to worry about. I said Seth Rollins is not in AEW, so you don't have to worry about him hurting him again.
That's not his fault. Sting agreed to take that bump. I don't know why they did that twice.
Sure. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but so yeah, we get MJF just beats the crap out of Lee Johnson. Like I don't know what else you would call that. That was just him beating the crap out of some dude.
Sure.
So Pineapple Pete and Chris Jericho. This
Yeah.
this matchup has taken me on a roller coaster of emotions. So at first it was like, oh well, that's crazy, because we talked about it some last week, where basically Jericho just talking about Pineapple Pete made him somewhat known. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so they've actually built to a match, and we were speculating, like, is Jericho just going to crush this guy, or is he going to make him look good, or is he actually going to win somehow, like due to interference or anything like that? So as the match is going up, they do like the little interview with Pineapple Pete, and it's like, all right, I'm kind of behind, like, this is cool. And then Pineapple Pete came out, and then I saw his actual in-ring gear, and I thought it was hideous, and I immediately wanted him to lose.
Yes.
Like, so I went from like, oh, this is awesome, and then I saw the gear, I was like, this looks awful. This guy needs to lose. And then
That matchup,
then
that match.
I gotta finish because it flipped.
Sure.
So once the match started and Pineapple Pete was beating the crap out of Jericho, I was actually mad. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna win. This is garbage.
Yes.
And then obviously like the finish to the match, but like this thing took me on a roller coaster of emotions, but I definitely have a disorder of some kind based on
This match reminded me of like a Mike Tyson boxing match where they hyped up the underdog, like, well, yeah, maybe he has a shot, and then Mike Tyson just crushes him.
Right.
And, yeah, I mean,
Except Mike
just like,
Tyson
okay.
wouldn't let the guy get any offense in at all.
just true. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't. Yeah. It was what it was.
I wonder if Pineapple Pete is going to be joining the Dark Order.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could go on further with it, and Pineapple Pete be like, "Hey, listen, this is not my name. This is, Shug D or Shug G or whatever his name was.
Yes.
Is my name," and maybe go along with that. But Chris Jericho has set him up with a whole character as Pineapple Pete, so I don't know why you get rid of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can just drop the pineapple and be Pete and give himself a different last name or something. Or I think it's like Sugar Demont or something, where you could just be Pete Demont or whatever, like whatever the D part of the name is. Just turn that into the name maybe, because the pineapple thing will be catchy for a while. It gives him like a legitimate object basically to have merchandising around.
Sure.
So I don't know. Now obviously he might be like, man, this dude makes one offhanded comment and now I'm freaking Pineapple Pete for the rest of my life. This sucks. Like, he might be very disappointed about that, but I don't know.
Sure.
I will gladly be like Pomegranate Paul if Jericho wants to inadvertently make me somehow.
Sure. Pomegranate Paul.
It is funny that you say Mike Tyson there, because he's going to be presenting the TNT Championship.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was intentional, but if it wasn't, excellent accidental segue.
It was not, but I did it on purpose.
Yes. I still want to know what the belt looks like now, though. I don't want to wait.
You gotta wait.
I don't.
You gotta wait.
But if it
So
sucks,
that match is on Double or Nothing, right?
yes,
For the championship. Okay.
yep,
Because they made it sound. Now I understand why they tried. I think because they made it sound like they already taped the match. Because they didn't know how the Corona was going to go. So it sounded like that match. So it sounds like they have a lost match or a match that's already been taped for a winner.
they may not use.
Well, sure, yeah.
That'd be weird
I
though
hope
to
they-
like know that there's a match that just is out there and be like, how long do we get to wait to see that one day? Like a,
Sure.
a lost match. But yeah, so we got like the first ever Stadium Stampede match challenge. And Vanguard 1 shows up for the acceptance. And Vanguard 1 does not have the best of nights.
Gets murdered.
Pretty much. Matt Hardy comes out. Now, it is weird that they ran away from just Matt Hardy when it was all 5 of them.
Sure.
But I guess they wanted to watch his reaction to their destruction of Vanguard 1. And he was not happy. And then he posted pictures of him holding broken pieces of Vanguard 1. I hope that they just have a new drone and they just put some duct tape and stuff on it to make it look like he repaired it somehow.
Sure.
And I want to see Vanguard 1 and Nick Jackson rehabbing together.
Sure.
So main event time was Christopher Daniels and Mr. Brody Lee. I mean, it was a pretty long match. I thought it was a good match.
Sure.
But it was basically for Brody to win. Daniels still does good though. I mean, despite kind of being old now, I guess you could call it. Moxley comes storming in at the end. I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about for the match? It seemed like it was pretty just a match. Oh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was just that.
How do you? Because I talk about this all the time. I still hate the discus lariat as his finisher. I mean, he makes it look good. Like he's definitely laying it in. I still just hate it.
He does make it look good, but just go with power bomb or something.
Yes. Well, I mean, he does one of those too, and he's a big guy. I don't know, like fashion and finishers. There's obviously a segment in that we can do.
Sure.
But yeah, Moxley is just unhappy. Moxley clearly hasn't been able to get a haircut. But yeah, he basically just beats the crap out of some of the putties, and then that's the end.
Yeah, it was like you said. It wasn't that great of a Dynamite. I was gonna call it Nitro there for a minute. Wow.
It does have they've captured some of that feel.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking at a site because you were telling me next week's show sounds like it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, with Jake the Snake and Arn Anderson.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the next week, if they actually have more of a card laid out. But I don't see anything yet. Let's go to events. Yeah, whatever. It does, we'll find out as it goes. But yeah, so hopefully it's a little bit better. I mean, it wasn't a bad show, but we've had, despite everything going on, we've had a few good ones lately. So that one was just kind of it could be better.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, do you have anything else to add to anything?
Well, we were going to talk about pro wrestling tees.
I forgot all about that.
But we're kind of running along. Do you want to do it, or do you want to wait till next week?
Let's just hit the top row real fast.
Okay.
So we're looking at pro wrestling tees, the top solid. Well, let's do the top 2 rows.
Okay.
So the mystery grab bag adult shirt, I'm always interested in, but I don't have good luck, so I'm always afraid.
And these are the top sellers for the week.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what's weird I don't know if these are in order or what, but it's weird to me that the Double or Nothing shirt is one of the top ones, because that doesn't look like a shirt that I would ever wear anywhere. Now I'm thinking of my old man thought.
It's your old man thought.
Yes.
Well, have you read the back of what it says?
I didn't know there was a back. Is it
Maybe
I was not there?
I watched at home.
Excellent.
Yeah, so maybe that's why.
It could be.
You
We got Jericho's Le Champion bandana.
Well,
Now, it says neck bandana, but I don't know if it would work as just a normal one as well. I don't know if there's a difference in the cut, but whatever. No, that's fine. I mean, I've thought about buying one because face masks and all that, and all the actual face masks are sold out.
I bought you and me 2 Cody bandanas. So
Yes, yeah, you had mentioned that, and I was like, yeah, get one of those because that'll be fine to wear. Yeah, because I don't own a bandana, and if I go to the store, like, they don't have face masks, they don't have bandanas. I mean, they have scarves that you could buy, but I'm not buying a scarf.
you should do that. You should get like a really fancy scarf.
So I'm such a wrestling mark, I guess. At this point, if I were to get a scarf, it'd have to be a Burberry one, like MJF's.
Okay. Yes.
You know what I'm not gonna do? I'm not gonna get one of those. But it would have, like,
Sure.
at this point, if for some reason I needed a scarf, it would be hard not to go that route. We got,
Oh, sure.
So out of all of these, we'll try to cut this a little bit shorter here. Other than the Orange Cassidy one, because we've talked about that one quite a few times. The freshly squeezed one, not the yearbook photo one. Did any of the top ones there really stick out to you at all?
I would never wear it, but the Chris Jericho glamour shot one,
Yes,
is probably the
that
next
is
best
the
one.
most Shawn Michaels 1990s,
Yes.
like early 90s shirt ever.
Yes. Because at first, when I saw it, I was like, "Is that Shawn Michaels?" And I was like, "No, that's him."
If the glasses were heart-shaped, that's all you would need.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But yeah, basically, like, Jericho seems to dominate the t-shirts.
Yeah, because you can look down. He has the one where he's wearing a
Road cone?
a road cone as his hat. I can see that being a big seller during Halloween.
Yeah, I laughed when he did that. You still got Brits up there.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, most of them, like, we can go more into it again and, like, do a shirt review in the coming weeks because we've done it before. But a lot of them I wouldn't wear, but there's some cool stuff on there. I would love to own, if I was a super social person, I would like to have the Orange Cassidy yearbook towel photo, just so people would ask me what the hell I have in my bathroom.
It's like, it's Orange Cassidy. You don't know who that guy is?
Like, look at him. He's wearing denim in a black and white picture. It's a celebrity, clearly.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I don't think there's anything else to talk about.
All right. We will end it there. And have a good week, everybody.
Yep.
Yep.
That's all I got to say. Yep.